setting it up. It's loading.
Okay.
Redirecting. Okay, we are live now.
You always have to assume it's live before you do anything. Like,
it's live, and because there's a delay, it's starting with you not in your chair. There you are.
oh, hey.
Okay, so now you can go in and share it, and I'm going to go ahead and share it to the Paragon portal.
If you can share it to my wall too, you could do that.
I can't. You have to share it to your wall.
Okay, I'm in Facebook, and what do I do?
Go to my wall.
Okay.
Hi, everybody who might be listening. We're just working out our technical details. We were in the midst of a high intensity as far as what we've been talking about with these icons. And we were having that conversation and decided we were just going to go ahead and go live. So give us just a moment to deal with the technical details and we'll jump back in. Okay, Michelle, so it's on my wall.
And it's on mine.
And it's on yours. Great. So we are good to go. I'm going to go back into Zoom and be here. Okay. So we were talking about these icons, Paragon Portal, the iconic bond, the iconic avatars, and where we have come from into this. And we were beginning to have a dialogue about that. And it moved into, I said, you know, this morning pops up on my Facebook, my memories from a year ago, all years ago, but a year ago specifically, during which I was actively working as a sacred intimacy coach. And all of my posts that I'm reading from this time of year, a year ago, feel like they are just so expansive and people are responding and there are comments and shares and likes and loves. And certainly that is not the end game, but I was lamenting a little bit and sort of just going back and forth about, okay, now that I am in a different paradigm and you and I are really immersed in these avatars, in how working with them is creating shifts for both of us and in relationship for George and I in a very big way. How to bring that gold down into form, into matter, into manifestation. And you said, okay, well, what were you talking about then? And I said, well, I was talking about, you know, connection to God and devotion and sacred intimacy and the man showing up and what it feels like when the king is there, because that was my reality at the time. And when he enters you, and all of it based in truth. But you said, okay, so it's the fantasy. And myself went, yeah, some of it is the big
and pop the bubble.
Yes, yeah, which is so great though. I mean, that is so much what we have been doing in the months since these icons really birthed and started to form in the physical reality, is disrupting all the fantasies. And one piece of looking back at that for me started in the marriage. Well, that didn't have it. I shifted into, and I didn't intentionally shift. I'm just going along my way and opened into mysticism. And over time, it became a deep immersion into spirituality and sacred union, hieroskamos, masculine, feminine, divine masculine, sacred feminine. For me, here's the next fantasy illusion that is rooted in reality. Those really exist, but again, just like the marriage, they get blown into, if you take this program, if you do this, then you get it, the it. And I love intimacy, I love sexual energy. I love high charged energy. I love that dance with my partner. And that has always held the it for me, all woven into it. So when marriage comes along and I'm young, 20 years old, and marriage, I'm in church. Marriage is the way that you do it. You get married, you have children, you expand, you build the life. Great, I'm in. Sacred union, hieros gamos is it. You go into sacred masculine, sacred feminine, you come together, you form one. You're no longer separate, you're one. Great, I'm in, that's it. Burnt to the ground, both of them for me, because there's real true gold and there's this blown up fantasy that if you take the program, you get it. And what you really get is programmed. Mm. So then it was, okay, I see how sacred union, hieros gamos, all of that didn't deliver it. And there's something else I'm going to shift into: high masculine, high feminine, dominance and submission. Okay, great. This is it. Mm-hmm. And that leads to, we began to talk about, okay, something's off, because it feels like we've traded the glass slipper for the riding crop. And we were watching in the energetics, the collective, the feedback, how that wasn't it either. And yet there was this big, if you do this, if you take the program, you get it. You're there. The money, the man, everything you want, the orgasms, the sex, it's all there. Great. I'm in. That's not it.
You're basically not that tired yet, girl, because you keep back and fit.
Literally.
Crush the illusion. Bam, bam, bam.
And that is what it's been. And I'm the kind of person who I'm going to go all the way in and I'm going to play with it until I get what's there and separate the lie from the reality, which is part of what
throwing up rocks or coughing up dirt. You know, it's like, let's get to the end of it and see what's the bottom of this rabbit hole.
Yes, yes, yes. Which I believe is what most people who are, whether they're in relationship and it's on the cusp of something different, which most are, or they're single and wanting to be in relationship, to form that bond that is deeply intimate, highly potent, and on its own in coming together begins to create something that has not been in existence before.
Yeah.
I love, this is when we said, okay, let's go live, because you said back to me, yes, but you're happy where I am currently. And I am, even though I know I'm not living it. And frankly, it doesn't actually exist. This is it. And I'm living this. And I can't sit down and say to somebody, I've made it. I'm there. I know how. I'm the only one who knows how. And I'll tell you, take my program. Here's the PayPal link. Mm-hmm. Because really, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
The truth. Yeah, go.
Okay. No, I was going to say, I want to bookmark this for just a minute, because you come from the world of, in your work of coaching and mentoring women primarily.
Mostly women. Thus far.
And body work and things like that, right? And that's primarily been your.
Yeah, in the feminine, it was deeply based in mysticism, sacred feminine, and has shifted over the course of the year.
And you're a mother.
Still.
And you're a mother. So you're a mother, and 3 children. Okay. And married 29 years,
28 years together, 29. Yeah.
All right. So and now you're moving into the second half of your life with, you're after children, after George's retirement, and now you guys are on the cusp of creating. So So the thing is you're coming into that second half, your second family, your second creation of your life.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
created work, created family, created home. And now all of that's gone. And now you're looking at the second piece. And now you're on the cusp of that creation. You're not just happy, you're pregnant again, and you're about to give birth to this second part of your life. And
Yeah.
George seems pretty, can I just speak that George seems pretty excited about that too now? I mean,
Yes.
seems pretty,
Yes.
the father, kind of
Yes.
he feels the fullness of the womb too. And then
Yes.
contrast that with my work, which is healthcare, 30 years, um, you know, my background has been with birth trauma. I also work with families and practitioners who work in craniofacial growth and development, tongue-tied breastfeeding, traumatic birth, even people who have been traumatized by the system of not getting good sequenced healthcare for issues that have been going on. And I see this all the time. I started using the icons in my mentoring with healthcare professionals so that they could understand how to literally see and view the people in their offices, their children, their families, their spouse, so that they could pull back and be like, what am I seeing here? What is happening? What am I looking at? And then they could understand like the facets of the Paragon diamond, what it is that they're looking at, because this is their diamond, this is their thing. So what they were looking at, and I began to see just astounding results from
Mm.
my clients who were finally getting the experiences that they want, and they quit looking for the teacher who was going to teach them everything, because we see this in medicine and dentistry all the time. If I just take this course, I'll have all the information I need to go be this practitioner, and that's the last thing I'm going to need. And so that's been my great joy this year, is teaching people how to do that in their healthcare practices, their coaching practices, their various different types of practitioners. This process, along with my power to change information. And so all of that together has provided this framework for people to step in and experience this, the difference between constantly seeking the oxytocin high and yet being on the sympathetic treadmill of sympathetic dominance, where they're constantly hoofing it and hustling to get to the next information or thing in their practice, and hammer out their money and their things like that in that world. And so these icons are not just about relationship, they're about interpersonally working and dealing with people, and wherever your life touches other people. And it helps. It's a lens. It's like, here, let me share with you my glasses so that you can see this and begin to move around in this experience a little differently. As we were saying, there are many different types of lenses you can use when you're looking at relationship. And relationship always piques us because we're created for connection. We're created for a relationship. It's a natural part of our anatomy. It's a natural part of our all the dimensions that make us human, is that connection. So we were looking at, you and I were talking about the different types of lenses that you can look through. And you just mentioned a couple: the spirituality, the hieros gamos, the dominance and submission. And then there are other people who teach frames that are based on compatibility, um, um, energetics. Like if you'll just get your energetics into the feminine, then he will come in. You'll pull him in. And then if you get this polarity just right, then you'll have this and that. So there's all of these ways of looking at it, and you've got ranges of people who are declare themselves the 1% of the 1%, to people who are heavily trauma framed, who are coming out of very, very significant and real situations that they're trying to get their bearings and their land legs back from having been on the sea. So there's this whole wide range of where you step into this, right? And that's what I think, I know I was trying to do, having not had those learning experiences about relationships at the appropriate developmental time as a younger girl. I didn't have those. I was shrouded by religion and fear, trained in fear to fear different things. And so all of that was just shut down. I just didn't do it. And then I got married, and then I had 5 children and 8 pregnancies, and then wondered what went wrong, after 28 years. And so now I'm 5 years after that going, okay, now what? I've got 40 more years on this planet. What am I going to create, and how am I going to create that? So I just wanted to give that perspective too, that the icons, a lot of families, even young family mothers of young children, are using these icons to look at their children, because they're all present in everybody, and they can see their children from a different perspective of like, oh, I see your little, your little gamer coming on, or your little whatever coming on. I see you. And then how to support your child in that too, to help them flip on their switches, so to speak. But I just wanted to broaden that out a little bit, that this really can go, I use this a lot with families who have put their lives on hold because they're dealing with stuff with their children, and they're missing the experience of life because they're looking for it to be over or this to be done. And people who are looking for a relationship are also saying the same thing. As soon as I find this person, then I'll have this. So I just wanted to kind of broaden that lens a little bit. So we bookmarked you at, I'm the expert, send me your PayPal link, and then I'll give you the information.
And ultimately, in my experience, and I can see where each one, when I sent the money, when I dove fully, and I dive fully, and I will say every single one served me in a way I didn't know it would. However, every single one also carries a shadow fantasy.
Yes.
And to get to the iconic bond, and for me, I'm going back into relationship, masculine, feminine. That's where it pulses loudly for me. To get to the iconic bond, you can't have fantasy. And that was for George and I in the last 2 weeks. For him, switches flipped on. He had a conversation with you. Because you know this so intimately, you could sort of look at his grid and go, okay, here, here, and here. And the next day, his whole energy was different. It had nothing to do with inner child healing. It had nothing to do with learning how to relate to the feminine. It had nothing to do with coming into his high masculine. It had nothing to do with being the divine masculine. It had nothing to do with being married to me.
Right.
None of those mattered. It had everything to do with flip the switch. And I'm telling you, from somebody who is not only teaching this and knows it intimately, but who's living it and living it with a partner, it's the first thing I have seen that it's been a couple of weeks now, week and a half. It's the first thing I have seen that I said to him yesterday. I can feel glimpses of you, the pure you from when I first met you 29 years ago, before the programming of raising children, before my programming of you're being too strong, you're being too harsh, can you turn it down? And now I'm going, could you please turn it up? Because I love that strength and I want to feel the power of your man. And flipping those switches dropped him into George. Yeah. Because they're his switches. They're nobody's program. They're nobody's to-do list. You didn't say to him, okay, here's what I want you to practice on this week. This is what you need to remember. There's no practicing. Right. There's one thing. What do you know, George? Mm-hmm. And when he interacted with me after that, meanwhile, I'm over here going through my own experience of holy shit, there's another fantasy I had no idea was pulsing back there. And I have spent a year burning it down, pulling out all the fantasies, all the illusions, and the deepest ones you don't see until the switch is flipped. And the beauty, the absolute beauty for somebody who is in relationship coming into this, his switch is flipped. And I looked at him and I knew it and I said it. I said, you know, you moved. For the first time in a really long time, your energy moved. You know what's going to happen. Now I have to move. Now it goes from, okay, I've done the work and I can view it from here, and him going, I don't really get it. I'm trying, to him going, yeah, I got it. Which then it went from seeming to be like this in the illusion to boom. And myself, all of a sudden, for the first time in a while, I had my own unraveling, and I'm watching now as those avatars that have been flipped on in me. What happens is you sort of come back around and a deeper switch gets flipped. That's my experience now. The way I experience him, the way I feel him dropped, descended even more deeply. And it's like my heart got blown open.
Wow.
It fascinates me.
You guys had so anytime like I work with someone, and I do this with health evaluations too. It's like, okay, just bullet point it out for me. What you remember, what you know. It doesn't matter what it is. Just bullet point it out. We look at I look at the experience, and then intuitively I can go, okay, that we probably need to do something with that, or okay, here, yeah, that's in the way, or that could use a tool, and give them a tool, because it's all about being sovereign, not tool dependent or facilitator dependent, or even frame dependent.
Right.
The grid is a tool. You use it, you learn it, and then you learn yourself, and you throw it away. You're like, no, this isn't the I always tell people it's not a program.
Exactly.
It's a discovering of who you are. So when you wake up in the morning, just like you make a decision about what to put in your cup, maybe it's not like you make what you usually make and then you make another cup. That's maintenance. When you change what you put in the cup, that's a decision. This is about sovereignty, and this is about deciding, oh, I'm going to put something different in my cup today. And so, or I'm going to wake up and take this other step instead of this step that I usually take. And some of that is, it takes time. It takes finding out the step that you personally need to take, not the step somebody told you to take. So it's about sovereignty, and sometimes it's information and knowledge about how the body works, or how the energetics work, or finding your true north. It's like, you've got to have your true north. You've got to know your true north, not be off on your magnetic north, which we discussed in the masterclass, how to know the difference and how to reconcile the two. And so it's different things for different people. And the goal is always sovereignty, not dependent on the framework or the tool. These are examples. These are pegs in your brain to hang things on so that you can try to decorate that room, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I think I get it. I'm going to take all that out now, and I'm going to do it the way that I know how, that suits me. I'm going to go put on what I want to put on, not what somebody suggested that I put on. That's just the tool that it takes to get there.
And the key in that is, as you said, the Paragon portal is the entrance point.
Yeah.
The iconic avatars are, I would say, the tool, but they're also the pieces that you play with. They're yours. There are 8 of them that are yours. And then the iconic bond is unique to you based on your avatars, based on your partner's avatars. Whether that partner, as you said in some of your work, is your child, is somebody in your family. I would say you and I, in doing this work, we have activated an iconic bond, being 2 icons who are coming together to do this. All of that belongs to you. None of it comes through as, here's the teaching, this is how it works. You can ask the question, and this is what we as the master code holders will tell you you've done to get it right or to get it wrong. That doesn't exist. You can't get it wrong. You have 8 pieces, 4 above the board, 4 below the board. You choose what you want to move when you know.
I can remember being in, and as a practitioner, I literally have hundreds of thousands of dollars in trainings. You know, we talk about, why is healthcare so expensive? Well, the education will sink you, right? And the education is just to get you to a license, and then you really get to learn. And so you've got that, and then you've got, okay, if this person's a really great practitioner, they've got hundreds of thousands of dollars of training under their belt. And I can remember sitting in some of these very expensive trainings and being and having all of the stuff that was wrong with me exposed. And then my nervous system is going, what am I going to do with this? I'm getting it wrong. I'm type A. You don't understand. I want to get it right. I want to be okay. And I can remember one time being taken through this exercise where it was exposed to me literally how close a man could get to me in my field and me still have a functioning nervous system. And it was like it was like, oh my God, it was way the fuck out there. And I was like, oh, holy shit, what am I going to do? You know, there was no one answered that question. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm damaged. No man will ever be able to get this close to me. And so that feeling of getting it wrong or not getting the A or the evaluation, oh, well, that's not on tone, or you missed the mark, or that bullshit has got to stop. I mean, we just, no. This is about you doing you and becoming sovereign over you in whatever that looks like. And
you can't get it wrong.
Yeah, you're not going to get it wrong.
You can't get it wrong.
Yeah, you can always make a different choice. And so in response to the thing that exposed, and I deal with this in my mentorship with practitioners, and they're like, I don't want to take your program because I don't want to be told what's wrong with me. And I'm like, oh God, I hate that. That's what teachers have done in their programs, is they've taught people they're going to get it wrong, instead of saying, look, this is how it works. Power up the system, and then you take it for a drive, put some gas in it and go. And then drive it where you want to drive it, you know, and you can decide if you want it to be jacked up in mud tires and off-road, or you can decide if you want it to be an electric car in the city. It doesn't matter. You know, you can decide how far you want to take it.
Which, what I love about this is, and I was really contemplating this yesterday from
Mhm.
another conversation I'd had outside of our work. There's a lot of talk about the nervous system, and you mentioned the nervous system.
About it a lot.
A lot. Like, and what happens when the focus is on the nervous system, the focus is also on where you're weak, why you need maintenance, why you need tending to. And instead, what has come through us is much more about the activation, which probably a lot of people have on some level. And yet, then you have to charge it. It has to become calibrated to you. If you're activated in all of those paradigms that I mentioned, that I moved through, I was activated. My posts from a year ago are because I was activated. However, I wasn't charged. And to come back to the nervous system, in these iconic avatars, you don't have to specifically address the nervous system, because the deeper truth and reality is once you flip the switch and charge your system in that energetic, the nervous system settles.
It's addressed. So it's not like it's not acknowledged. So in the primal avatar is where we address the nervous system, because the primal avatar is your foundation. It's your human flesh and blood and the nerves that form your field in the body. And so that's where we address that in the primal. And there's all kinds of wonderful ways to address the nervous system. There's not just one. And so that's another place where people go shopping because of their PTSD or the traumas and the experiences that they've had. And they go shopping for the modality or the body work modality or the therapy modality or the nervous system modality to help correct that thing. And that piece of healing trauma. And then I know when I got to the point where I had kind of dealt with a critical mass of that, and felt like, oh, okay, okay, I can feel the down regulation. I'm ready to move into another area. And then what you do is you start shopping for things like, most of the time it's relationship stuff, because that's the next piece. Is like, oh, I can be in the proximity of another human. How do I do that? I don't know how to do that. Or I think I don't know how to do that. And then you go shopping for relationship stuff. And then depending on how you're wired up or pre-programmed based on your experience in childhood or your early adulthood experiences, you might shop in a particular store. It's like I tell people all the time, are you buying your purse at Hermes, or are you buying your purse at Target? And that's kind of what you're talking about. Is like, well, where are you going to shop? Well, it kind of depends on your shopping habits. I tend to shop on that end. I'm not talking shit about Target. I'm just saying I tend to be more on that end. So and so what'll happen is those people become the practitioners. They'll go take the trainings and do the modality through the training is what happens. And then that's one way to do it. And then also it's only one of the pieces. And then you get to the other parts of these of what I call the iconic avatars that help create the ionic bond between people on all of these levels. Then it gets really fun and fascinating when you've got the foundation, the primal foundation, to be able to do that. It gets fun. It's because people who are traumatized and people who are in that, they don't like games. It's not fun. Games are not fun. It's not, there is no, we'll just play with it. And you go, play with it? What is that? What do you mean? That, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Something might happen. I might lose.
It's very serious. It's very serious.
Very serious. I might get it wrong, and what are the risks? What is, we start calculating, like the monkey mind starts running like gambling. I'm going to run the program right here, but because it's a gamble. And then once you have that foundation, you can get more playful. It's a little bit more fun.
Because Because you don't fear the unknown. When you have the charge, you talked about the charge in the primal. When you have the charge in especially the first 3 avatars, because the 4th one is sort of in a whole realm of its own. But when you charge up those first 3, the unknown is actually what you desire. It's what you want to move towards. And your system can handle it, can take the uncertainty, the lack of control, and navigate that. And yet when you're coming from a place of having to consistently go in and self-care and tend to trauma, it's never okay.
Because
it's never okay.
You never have your own back. And so in the primal, you know, we talk about having your own back and how you have your own back, because once you have your own back, you can do so much more.
And it's not from here. It's not here telling the body, okay, I've got my back. I'm here for me. It's from the root, from the ground up into the body. Right. And I can speak upon this all the way because George and I both went through Power to Change, which the condensed version will be in what we're creating in the new year. It's why we're living in Florida. It's why you're in Hawaii. And it's also why our relationship is exactly where it is. Because in moving through these avatars, in charging primal first from the feet up, and it doesn't look anything like, I mean, I can promise anybody listening, you couldn't imagine what that charge consists of. It's not anything you've known. It's so unique how Michelle has brought this through, and it's her total genius and created what the foundation is. And so for George and I, we went through that midsummer, end of the summer, and we weren't sure what we would do in the winter. Here we are, having gotten our charge on, made it crystal clear at a certain level what was true between us, because we weren't tired, kind of exhausted. I know for me, at the end of being in Maine, I remember you saying, I know exactly when your energy shifted. I know exactly when your charge dropped. Being fully charged and not having extra emotion that I don't know where it came from or feels hard or I'm just tired was a game changer for George too, and for each of us in different ways, because he is so primal.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. And you don't, in the Paragon portal, in the iconic bond, in these avatars, you're not just getting one.
Right.
You're getting all 4. And the 4th is the high voltage turn on that everybody's talking about now. It's the thing, the alien, the codes, the edge of consciousness. That it can't rise out of your system, number 1. Number 2, can't settle into your system without the charge to hold it. You can get big and blow out, which I can see in my own process has happened at different points along the way. I could get big because some of the draw, when, as Michelle says, when you go shopping, if you're going shopping for it, you want to choose the biggest it there is. If your budget affords it, you want the most gorgeous dress. If you're a woman, you want the most gorgeous dress, you want the earrings, you want the accessories, you want the bag, even the shoes. Every single part matters. Your lipstick matters. But if you don't have the foundation, the highest voltage isn't going to stay.
You don't have the capacity to hold it. You don't have.
It's like dress up.
Yeah, you don't have the capacity to live that way.
Yes.
And that's what happens a lot of times is people are just blowing out their nervous systems because they do not have the capacity to run that program. It's a hardware software mismatch. And I talk about this all the time, even when dealing with babies going through the tongue tie process. It's like, you're going to give them the 8-cylinder ability to function with the 4-cylinder engine, and it's a mismatch, and they're not going to run that program, and it doesn't change because I'm a lactation consultant, and so we talk about the suck, swallow, breathe being the foundation of life, of extrauterine life. And it's almost like everything goes back to that. It's that creating of capacity. It's running the system. It's building the charge. It's the crawl, the crawl, walk, run. It's the tricycle, bicycle with training wheels, bike. It's the do. It's how we do that is based on capacity and the ability to make these decisions and do these processes in time, in space and time, and our bodies respond to that. So the glitches that we see in our bodies that come up with doing that are real-time feedback about our capacity to be able to run these things. And so it's so funny. I had this. Okay, so this is just a little drink confession here. So, and Jacqueline, you can talk about this because to me, it feed me back because George has a Harley and you ride on the Harley with him.
He drives, I ride.
Boom. That's your logo. That's your trademark.
Yep.
And so, so what's coming up for me is I'm seeing these different people, these amazing women who have these relationships with these fabulous masculine men, and they all have fucking Harleys. And I just look at it and go, it does not turn me on. It does not interest me. And so then I go to, well, how do I have this? And I don't want to ride a Harley. And so right away, I feel in my body when I look at that and I go, I like that and I don't like that, but they always go together. What do I do? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Does that mean I'm not going to have what I want?
Well, it automatically starts that dialogue of, I don't have it, I'm not going to get it, here's why, here's what's wrong, when it's total bullshit because your guy, you're not going to care, he's not going to care that there's no Harley. When that iconic bond ignites, he's going to have everything that turns you on.
Yeah, but isn't that a great representation of the inner dialogue that happens when you have this concept of what turns you on and what you want, and you only see it with that, and then you're like, well, where else does it exist? I don't have that experience yet. I haven't seen that yet. So immediately your mind goes to, well, I can't have that, And you're like, it's okay. I'll be single for the rest of my life. I can provide for myself. I'll be fine. I'll buy a $300 dildo. I don't know, I don't know. Isn't that hilarious? That this is what we do. This is what we do, right?
Yes, this is exactly what we do. And I love that you use the Harley as example of that, because it's a small snapshot of what we do when the larger than life teacher, code holder, relationship expert, they're doing it, comes into the picture, and we automatically, I certainly have, with every paradigm I mentioned and every teacher in the paradigm, gone, okay, well, I don't have it. And it's devastating to the system when in truth, 29 fucking years. The man who says, Jacqueline, I know all the parts of you and I love them all. And he really knows all the parts of me, all the deep, dark, dirty secrets. This man knows them all. And I have it. Yes, we've each needed to charge up. That's a truth. And yet, it's been there. And the lie and illusion is this. Okay, well, you don't have this. In your words, there's no Harley, so you're not going to have it. You're not going to get it.
Yeah.
That's what happens when the response is, I don't have it. This larger than life teacher, person, whatever out there, I'm going to go study with them because they have it. In my experience, what has happened when I wasn't charged is what I was functioning from was my activation and their charge.
Oh, okay.
And when I tried to run that through my system, that's not my avatar.
Or even their experience, right?
Absolutely. And that's what I mean by their charge, their words, their beliefs, what they're saying, who they are, what they experienced, what they're teaching as this is how it looks when you do it.
So
XYZ.
you're trying to surrogate birth your experience through another person's frame, and it doesn't work that way. It just does not work that way.
And the Harley's the great example of that, because that's another person's frame, and yourself went, fuck that. I don't want to do that. No.
That's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So this is an example of Coffee with Michelle and Jacqueline, and for the purpose of introducing you to, and in the master class, we will take this apart and put it back together. So it's when you take the thing apart and you look at it and it goes back together. I mean, how many times have you taken something apart and it just doesn't go back together? And so the thing about it is that you get to put it back together for yourself. It's like, we're going to give it to you, we're going to take it apart, and then you get to put it back together, and it goes back together the way that you want it to.
Pleasurably.
Yeah.
That's the thing. This is not hard. Get in there, scrape you from the inside out, which we have become accustomed to. We've become accustomed to this is where you're doing it wrong, as you mentioned at the beginning. This is what you need to fix. Here's your rules. Go live with it. It's not that. It's every single piece in the iconic bond, in the avatars, is about who you are and your energy. And again, you have 4 pieces above the board, you have 4 pieces below the board. And move them as you please. You can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. And how you play with it is how you play with it. Jacqueline, you noticed the other day how George moved a piece on his board that moved a piece on yours. Yeah. And you didn't intentionally move that piece, and yet you were like, yes, it can move. You allowed your piece to be moved based on the move he made. And you were happy with that. You were like, yes, move my pieces, bud. Do it.
Please move my pieces.
Move my piece. I like it.
Yes.
And yet you were in control of your board. You allowed that piece to be moved. You welcomed the move of that piece.
Because he's my iconic bond.
Yes.
That is, and there's so many threads I can feel from that, and I won't overload us, but that is the why, because he's my iconic bond. And so without him saying anything, just doing himself and moving his piece. First of all, I know how this works. So I knew, buckle up, Jacqueline, because you're next. You've been charged, but George just changed the game, and you're gonna make a move now. And it's a choice, but it also isn't a go do something choice. It's the kind of thing that for me, because I'm functioning in my alignment, naturally that move happens. I've already consented.
We call that true north.
You're functioning in exactly.
Not your magnetic north, your true north.
That I can't wait to talk about that in the master class.
That's it. Real, man.
Yeah. And at the time that the Christmas star and the alignment and the conjunction, it's no mistake that for you and I both in the last month, couple of weeks, the heat got turned up, and magnetic north, true north, which you also said is the true knoweth, all rose up and became crystal clear in that diamond lens, in that turn of facets. I love this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. It's totally fun.
How
And
are we? Yeah, go ahead.
and I just was gonna say, like when I think back of all the things that I've done and all the people who I've encountered along the way who have come in, stepped in because they truly they truly they truly feel, know, and believe that they have something to share, and I've eaten of that. I look back and I'm grateful for that, and I'm also grateful for how I've changed to be able to receive or take, and you've said it, take parts of it, like the buffet that it is, and I think that that's where, when you've moved a critical mass of trauma, some people call it shadow, and you can get to that point where you're like, oh, I see you, I see that this is your belief, I see that this is how you're rolling, I see you. And then you can choose whether or not to take that on or not. You can choose whether or not to leave it. And you can take and leave. And this is that. This is and this is why I always run off the concept of sovereignty, is that whenever somebody works with me, the goal is for them not to become a parrot of me, and to become fully sovereign into who they are and what they have to offer, and what they're bringing in, what they're bringing into the planet, or the being, or if it's just them doing them and they don't give a shit about none of that, then that's cool too. You go do you and post it all over Instagram, and we're gonna love it. We're gonna love watching it. You go doing you and not giving a shit about healing the collective or working with the collective or offering anything like this. That's cool. That's why I post pictures of sunsets and my bare ass on the beach or whatever. It's just because it makes me happy. It's not because sometimes I feel like I have anything to really offer anybody. It's just like, this is just me being me. I love it. I'm happy. So, yeah. Do you want to give the deets?
Yes. Yes. So we intentionally scheduled this masterclass for the upcoming Sunday after Christmas, because you'll be hanging out.
People are going to be bored after Christmas.
You'll want a little stimulation charge, which is exactly what this is, especially this masterclass. As we've been preparing for it, it's pretty fiery. Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, intentionally, this is an extended masterclass, which means we're on it as long as the energy is alive and pulsing and moving. And we have a lot of pieces that we want to bring through, which won't overload you. It will serve as an activation, as some pretty high voltage clarity, and is how I would say, and charge to get you started. So Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern, $600. You can PM me, you can PM Michelle, and it will be an intimate space. This isn't simply a teaching space. This isn't, here's your tools, go play. This is going to be an opportunity for you to engage with us and ask your questions, and sort of, as Michelle said the other day, be on the hot seat. In addition to that, so that's on Sunday. We're really, we're clearly really excited about it, but we're also very excited to talk this, to bring it through, to dive deeper into this portal. And so I would also extend an invitation to you to join the group, the Paragon Portal, and I'll put the link under this live when we complete. We have other lives in there. We'll be sharing more intimately in there. We'll do pop-up lives, and that's really, there's an initiatory act when you enter that space that really Paragon came through as the highest quality. It's the highest quality, most valuable diamond. So clean, so clear, the cut, all of it. And so Paragon Portal was intentionally created and set up to be an initiatory entry point into these energetics. Do you have anything to add to that, Michelle?
No, aloha, everybody. I'm going to
Thanks,
sleep.
everybody.
Bye.